Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to watch my session today. I'm Jordan Jewell with VTEX. I recently was an industry analyst at IDC. I looked at the digital commerce software market, sized the market, worked with merchants and brands, digitally transforming, selling online. And the point of this session is to really think about the future. We worry a lot about the day-to-day of selling online, and that's really important. There's a lot of really good material here at VTEXDay for your day-to-day operations. But I want to make you think a little bit about the future. Think about things that you probably shouldn't be investing in right now, but to get those wheels rolling, to start thinking about it. So that's me. Like I said, came to VTEX 2 months ago. Tomorrow's my 2-month anniversary at VTEX, and I covered digital commerce at IDC for 7 years. And I was at VTEXDay actually in 2019, but VTEX was my client. I wanted to start off by giving a personal story. So the theme of VTEXDay, or the slogan, is "One day changes everything." So here is my one day that changed everything for me, when I proposed to my wife on top of a mountain in 2019. And this has nothing to do with commerce at a face level, but there was also a transaction involved. When I bought my wife, I bought the engagement ring for my wife. One transaction that changed everything. And we may not think about transactions from that point of view, but I bought the ring online. I bought it 2 weeks before I was supposed to propose. My payment got denied twice. I freaked out a little bit. I had to call them like 4 times. It went through. Everything worked out, but their order management wasn't very good. I wasn't sure if the ring was going to come on time. I wasn't sure if I was going to have to find some plastic ring to propose with. And the point I want to make is these transactions can matter. Customer transactions can really have an impact on their lives, but also these experiences need to be a little bit better when we're moving forward to 2026. So again, I want you to be thinking about the future. I want you to forget everything you know about digital commerce right now. What could digital commerce be in a perfect world? What if I thought about a product that I needed? Headphones, a watch, a new phone, food, and it's there on my counter. It just appeared. What if I didn't even know I needed new dog food, and it just appeared? It appeared in my pantry. I want you to be thinking about that, thinking about the way commerce could be. It's going to take a while to get there, but I think we should all have this mindset when building e-commerce for our customers about how we can make the experience better for them. So I just told you to think about the future, but let's look at where we are today. So this is a chart of e-commerce penetration worldwide, not the US, not just Latin America, worldwide. And Asia is actually further ahead, China particularly, than Latin America is, than the US is, than Europe is. And they're actually bringing this number forward, but with China has over 50% of all e-commerce, all retail commerce online right now. And we saw a big uptick in 2020. We all experienced that as consumers, as merchants, but it slowed down a little bit in 2021 relative to that. But our forecast here at IDC, here at VTEX, is that will pick up. And that includes in regions like Latin America, which is supposed to be one of the fastest growing regions globally. So this is just some perspective. And next, when we think about where commerce is today, it's browser. It's really in these, on a computer, a mobile device, these type of experiences. That's where commerce happens right now. This is an example from REI, where I bought that bag on rei.com. That's on Gap, some retailers. This is a typical e-commerce experience right now. The only point of this being, this is where commerce happens. I'm going to show you some of the ways commerce is going to change, where commerce is going to happen in the future. That's a little bit different. Now I have some stats about the problems we're experiencing in e-commerce right now. So just looking at these numbers, about 70% of all carts online are abandoned. So imagine you're in a grocery store or retail store, and there's 70% of all shopping carts are just left in the halls, on the floor. That'd be a huge problem. This is a huge opportunity that needs to be improved if we want to move forward to 2026. That number goes up to 83% on mobile, showing that we're not offering very good mobile experiences right now as retailers and brands. We could do better. There's some other stats. I'm not going to go through all of them, but the 20%, that's a fraud metric. About 20% of orders are rejected, and they shouldn't have been. That's a huge opportunity. 23% of products are returned because the customer was shipped the wrong item. These are all things we need to work through as we get to the future of commerce. So with that said, I now do want to look at 6 trends shaping the market. As we go from here today in 2022 and move towards 2026, what are the main trends shaping the market? And these are the trends I looked at as an analyst that I think are affecting pretty much every organization. Doesn't matter if you're a brand, retailer, B2B, B2C. My old company sold research. We sold reports and research. These trends were affecting us. They're affecting VTEX. They should be affecting basically every company, regardless of what they sell. And by the way, there's going to be 6 trends. There's going to be a summary slide at the bottom, so you don't have to take a picture of each one if you want. So the first trend is channel explosion, is what I call it. In the past, the old way of doing commerce is I had one channel I sold on primarily. It might have been in store, it might have been my direct-to-consumer online website, but I leaned very heavily on that one channel. I had one channel where I did 90+% of my business. What we're moving towards is there being many channels that consumers engage with. In the past, a consumer went on about 2 channels before placing a purchase in 2010. Now, a consumer on average interacts with over 4 digital channels when they buy online before they place a purchase. So the customer journey now and in the past was very simple. I show them an advertisement, they go to my website, they add to cart, they check out. Done, easy. Now it's a lot more complicated. My consumer might see an ad on TV. They go on Amazon to read reviews. They go to my physical store to try something on. They actually buy on my direct-to-consumer website. And it's becoming very difficult to track. If I advertise on Amazon, does that impact my sales in store? What's happening is all these channels are connected. And there's new channels popping up every day. So new marketplaces, new apps, new social media. And brands need to be focusing on all of them. Retailers need to be focusing on the ones that they don't directly compete with, like Amazon or Alibaba or Mercado Libre in cases. So that's trend number 1. Trend number 2, which I'm calling the experience economy, is a move from what I would say is price-driven and product-driven commerce. Consumers and B2B buyers, for that matter, bought based on the product or the price, which is still extremely important, but we're moving towards more of an experience-driven economy where I buy because I agree with a brand's values, with their sustainability. I buy from them because they provide me a lot of transparency and information. I know exactly when I'm going to get my product, the return policy, where the product was manufactured. All of that's very important, and consumers are caring a lot more about it. The example I always think of is Disney. Disney is an experience company. You don't buy a Mickey Mouse stuffed animal because it's soft. You buy it because it's a Disney product. Similarly, Patagonia is a company I wear a lot of their apparel, and they focus on sustainability, where their products are manufactured. That's going to become increasingly important through 2026. Third trend is experimentation, what I'm calling. So in the past, when I sold online, in-store, through a retailer, like Walmart, let's say, I had a business model. I sold products. I sold products to retailers, through distributors in some cases. Now we're moving towards a world where brands and retailers have many business models. They have subscriptions, consumption-based models, marketplaces, affiliated marketing. The number of channels and business models that retailers and brands are using, it's growing. And the most successful companies in the world are using all sorts of these channels. Think of your favorite app or marketplace, and I can guarantee you, if they're successful, they're using at least 2, 3 models. Think about Amazon. They offer products, subscriptions, Amazon Prime. They have AWS as well. The most successful brands are using many business models, and I think almost every brand and retailer should as well. Trend number 4, what I'm calling collaborative commerce, is a move from more static logistics or fulfillment towards more dynamic logistics or fulfillment. So what I like to think about here is traditionally brands or retailers had one main supply chain or supplier providing them with the products and services. And that was good. It's good to have reliability, a relationship with a supplier, but we've all seen the problems with supply chains recently. We've seen problems with fulfillment. Fulfillment's getting very difficult, getting products to consumers when they expect it. What we're moving towards, I think we're going to see a lot more of this in the coming years, is more dynamic logistics, more dynamic fulfillment. So there's a battle going on in the US as well as all across the world about how do I get products to my customer as fast as possible. In the US, we're seeing companies getting tons of funding trying to do 15-minute delivery in New York City. And they're running out of money and they're going out of business, but there's huge demand for this kind of dynamic logistics and fulfillment that leverages the sharing economy in many cases. And this is only going to continue. Marketplaces are really important in this as well. If I can have many suppliers who are supplying me products on a marketplace, I don't need to rely on a single supplier. So there's many stockouts that occurred last year because of supply chain problems. And using marketplaces, more dynamic supply can help alleviate this a little bit. The 5th major trend, I really believe in this one, is engagement first selling is what I'm calling it. But the summary of this one is more video. Video is going to be a lot bigger in commerce. If you think about social media for a second, think about Facebook. And think about Facebook 5, 10 years ago. It looked kind of, to me, I think kind of like a product page. It had the picture, it had descriptions about who you were, where you went to school, and you could scroll down and all that. Maybe that's kind of like reviews, let's say. That's kind of like a PDP. That's kind of how social media looked 5, 10 years ago. What are the biggest social media platforms today? At least in the US, where I'm from, it's become Instagram first, but then TikTok. TikTok is by far the fastest growing social media platform. And TikTok is all about video. It's all about engaging with customers more, entertainment in some cases. Video is just a more engaging medium to interact with a consumer. And I think you're going to see commerce look a lot more like TikTok than a Facebook page. So I just want you to be thinking about how commerce becomes more immersive, more video, and how you can build commerce experiences that use that. Final major trend that we're seeing is a move from what's called Web 2.0 to Web 3.0, and we're calling this democratization. This one is a big buzzword, gets really complicated. There's a lot of really stupid stuff, in my opinion, going on in the market with the metaverse. I'm not going to talk about the metaverse, but what I think is happening, and we're going to see more of, is the use of NFTs and those sort of technologies. So Web 2.0, those brands shown like Google, Facebook, YouTube, etc., had a control over how content was created and sold. And there's nothing wrong with that. They deliver great services and products, but we're moving towards more of a blockchain-driven internet and economy. So if I'm a user, there's a lot of stuff happening with NFTs right now. I, as a user, can create a work of art, sell it as an NFT without involving Google, Facebook, Amazon, eBay. I can do it myself. That's what we mean by democratization. But the part that I think is big for brands and retailers is around NFTs. I'm going to talk a little bit more in a moment, but this is the last big trend we're seeing. This is the most futuristic, and I'll have some predictions around what we're going to see here. So those are the major trends that we're seeing. And so here's the summary slide. You can take a picture now if you want to if you want to memorize it. I'll give you a moment. I'm going to take a drink of water. If you want a copy of this presentation afterwards, just ask me on LinkedIn. So these are the 6 major trends impacting commerce. And again, I think they're impacting pretty much every organization in some way or another. So now let's actually look at what are some examples of commerce in 2026. Let's look into our crystal ball and look at how transactions will actually occur in 2026. So first off, marketplaces will continue to be dominant. Right now, marketplaces account for about, I want to say 52% of all commerce online. That number is going to continue to increase. It's going to increase to over 56% through 2026. It might increase to over 60%. But I believe a lot of this transformation, movement to marketplaces that is going to happen, will happen to among smaller marketplaces. It's good. Amazon is going to continue to do well. Alibaba will continue to do well. JD.com, Mercado Libre will continue to do well. They have a very wide selection of products. That is why consumers buy. Great customer experience. But more brands and retailers are offering their own marketplaces. You're going to see marketplaces in more niche markets like healthcare, equipment, art, those sort of industries we haven't seen so much in the past. So marketplaces are going to grow into those areas as well. And there's going to be new types of marketplaces, such as I have a marketplace within my company. I have a B2B marketplace, a B2B2C marketplace. Goods that have already been owned, even, as an example. So for each of these, I have a prediction and then some advice. The prediction here is that by 2026, so here's the numbers I just listed, but we're going to see a 7% increase in marketplace share. More transactions are going to happen through marketplaces, and we've been going along this trend for years. Here's the actual advice. If you're a brand, I advise you to sell on more marketplaces. We're going to see more growth on these channels. Sell more on them yourself. Find tools that allow you to sell on marketplaces with good product information. There's tons of pages on marketplaces with terrible product information. We've all seen it on Amazon or other marketplaces. There are tools that let you provide better experiences. For retailers, consider investing in your own marketplace. or selling across some of your peers' stores. So different kinds of partnerships will pop up where you can sell across your partner marketplaces. VTEX is one of the companies that allows that. Next example is, this is around the experience economy example, but consumers buy more from brands that they trust. I think this is obvious. I don't think this will surprise anyone, but what we're really seeing, and I didn't put this bullet point on the slide, but one thing we're seeing is if you look at the stock market, companies who are environmentally sustainable and have environmentally sustainable practices have seen higher returns on the stock market than the market as a whole. That is, and there's many more indicators about consumers gravitating towards these brands that they trust, who are more transparent, and who have more sustainable practices. That example earlier of myself buying a wedding, an engagement ring for my wife, that's from a company called Beautiful Earth, who they don't use diamonds that are blood diamonds. They use diamonds that can prove were mined in ethical ways. My wife's engagement band came from Botswana, and I know exactly kind of where it was mined. We're going to see more of that, particularly in developed countries, but it's going to come across the market as a whole. And in my mind, it's all about transparency. So the prediction here is, driven by consumer demand, over 20% of all commerce experiences will proactively display sustainability information. This seems way out. We're not seeing very much of this right now. Companies don't like to say where their products came from, how sustainable they are, because there's a lot of bad practices in the market. But we're going to start to see more of this happen. And there's going to be marketplaces that require this information from brands. The advice I have here is to look at one area of your e-commerce operations where you can improve your transparency, improve your sustainability. Start moving in this direction. You don't have to invest a ton of money in sustainable manufacturing at this point, but start thinking about this more because at the end of the day, consumers will drive this trend. Third scenario is, this is around the engagement first selling and video. This is about more engaging experiences in general. Stores will increasingly sell experiences. So there's a few things going on. Here, this is a product mostly in the United States called Cooler Screens, where they've actually digitized screens in pharmacies, grocery stores. That's a screen. It's not glass. I walked into a store that had this. I thought it was gimmicky. It's kind of annoying. There were ads being displayed. I don't know if we should be adopting that quite yet, but I do think we're going to see more engaging retail, more of a blend between digital and physical. And I think it's worth thinking about what types of experiences to offer to our consumers. The other example, I had the version I tried to create, there's 2 slides, but the other example I've seen is, you might know about the Amazon Go stores where you just walk in, you don't have to check out, you can put stuff in your bag, it feels like you're shoplifting. That's going to become more common. It still hasn't been adopted very much, but we're seeing it much more in JFK Airport in New York. They're using that. The newsstands in JFK Airport, you can just walk in and walk out. They're actually using Amazon's technology, but we're going to start seeing more of that. The reason I think that's going to have more adoption is because, does anyone really like going to a point of sale system and checking out? I don't think so. Like, no one likes swiping your card and checking out. It's good to know that the transaction happened, that it went through. Like, we all want the confirmation. But there's a much more frictionless and customer-friendly way that can happen. There's a lot of stuff on the slide as well. We're going to see more business models that enable this more frictionless kind of commerce as well. So the prediction that we have is by 2026, I changed this to say not just Americans, but in the Americas as a whole, will experience one of those just walk out experiences. So not just in the USA, but across the Americas, we're going to see more consumers who've experienced one of those retail experiences where they just walk out. Again, because it's a better customer experience for the consumer. So if you are a brand or a retailer, it's worth thinking about how you can embed these type of experiences in your in-store experience. This was supposed to be a video on the right. The example I gave earlier was about how video was going to become bigger in commerce, and I fully expect that to happen. And the most tangent example that we're seeing right now in e-commerce is live shopping. We're going to see more live shopping. We're going to see more streaming commerce. Google has talked about how they want to use YouTube for commerce. If you think about your everyday experiences with entertainment and technology, we have a screen in our pocket at all times, our phone, so that's going to be used more. But also, what's the biggest screen we interact with on a daily basis, the average consumer? Their television. But interacting with a television with the remote is terrible right now. So I think we're going to see more technology providers making the television a commerce device than in the past. Google, I believe, is working on it. Others will as well. So just keep your eyes open for these kind of video experiences that can become more commerce experiences. Again, the most realistic one right now is live shopping, which has caught on greatly in Asia, where, again, 50% of all retail in Asia is is online, and 20% of that is video. 20% of that is live shopping or streaming. We're going to see that number similarly grow in the Americas. Prediction here is that by 2026, 20% of all commerce, which is over $200 billion, will take place over live streaming commerce experiences worldwide. The advice here is to experiment with live shopping. Trialing it. I'm making a plug for VTEX, but you can get a trial with VTEX for free. We're letting you try it out because this is something worth experimenting with your customers. Bolster the product detail pages for your top 20 selling products. So use video more in your product pages. 360-degree spin, lifestyle videos, not just a product turning around, but actually a customer using a product in a video, and influencer-created videos. Just the summary is use more video. The fifth and final scenario is autonomous commerce. Here is autonomous delivery, but I think this is part of a much bigger trend. So this is an actual FedEx delivery experimental truck in China. So it's using, there's no driver in there. It's using artificial intelligence, machine learning, and computer vision to deliver products to consumers' homes with no person involved. We've all kind of, I think, heard about drones delivering products to people's homes. There's aviation issues with that, but we will start to see more of this. And the example I want you to think about is I have a coffee machine, a Nespresso, in my apartment. And what if the Nespresso had a sensor at the bottom and it saw, oh, Jordan's out of coffee pods. Let's deliver them to his house. So Nestle just delivers a whole new shipment of coffee, the one I always get, to my home. Autonomous delivery vehicle, such as that one, comes up to my house and says, Jordan, do you want this shipment? And I say yes or no. That's the only commerce experience that happened. The only the only action I'm taking is saying yes or no. We're moving towards more automatic engagement. That sounds very futuristic, but again, this is actually happening in China. In China, you can walk into a store and walk out without taking your phone out and pay with your face. In China, they have these vehicles actually delivering things. It'll take a while to catch on elsewhere. I don't know if I want to pay with my face, but it's worth thinking about how we can take friction out of the commerce experience. Here's the prediction and advice. So by 2026, over 10% of e-commerce transactions worldwide will be fulfilled in this sort of autonomous commerce model. Again, I think a lot of this will happen in Asia, where there's a different acceptance for privacy, but it's going to happen. And then the advice I would make is really experiment with APIs. So any good commerce platform out there is headless and offers API-first commerce so that you can try using sensors to place orders, or have subscription-based commerce or consumption-based commerce. So experiment with these kind of API-driven headless commerce models. Sorry, there is one more. The final scenario is around NFTs. I promised you I would talk about NFTs. I'm not going to talk about art. I think the art stuff is really silly. It's not going to matter in a few years, like the selling of art with NFTs. What I do think matters is brands and retailers using NFTs to authenticate that a product is real. Chanel is actually experimenting with, I don't buy handbags, but I've heard the handbag from Chanel or other luxury brands comes with a card, a physical card, to prove that is authentic. And in the future, that'll be virtual. In the future, there will be a NFT, a non-fungible token, which all that an NFT does is show it is an authentic product and who owns it. An NFT will just ensure that who the rightful owner of that product is. An example, I have a watch on, or I might have my phone. An NFT can verify that me, Jordan Jewell, is the one wearing this watch. And if someone were to steal this watch, it wouldn't work because it couldn't be verified by my phone. These are more realistic examples about how blockchain and Web 3.0 can actually help brands and retailers. The prediction here is that by 2026, 20% of the top 100 fashion and luxury brands worldwide will be using these kind of technologies, will be experimenting with NFTs. Yesterday, Scott Galloway was kind of joking about how Chanel and other brands will make a coin that consumers can use. I think this is frankly, I think this is a much more realistic and more valuable use of blockchain for customers. My advice here, I do not think you should be investing in NFTs right now. Just don't do it. It's too early. It's not a good way to spend your money. But I think brands and retailers should experiment with these technologies. They should be learning about OpenSea, which is the biggest marketplace for NFTs right now, and they should just be becoming familiar. So when it does become an actual potential source of value, that you're more ready to use them. So I'm going to very quickly go into some recommendations I have, very high level. I gave you some advice, and I'm going to give you some more high level, some final thoughts. So one, there are some limiting factors that I think could make all my predictions wrong, and these are some of them. I'm going to focus on just a few. Cultural. I mentioned the example that a lot of us are not comfortable with just walking out of a store carrying a product without paying. To embrace the future of commerce, there's some cultural adaptation that needs to happen. One that's not on this slide is economic. We could have economic downturn soon. that could counteract some of these examples. And then a final one I'll bring up is sustainability. I already talked about sustainability, but if you think about blockchain, and if you think about Bitcoin, Bitcoin right now is worse for the environment. It has more emissions than, I think, about 150 countries combined, or individually, but has worse emissions than the bottom 150 countries. We need to have a better way to use blockchain than that. And then I use a Jeff Bezos quote here because I know a lot of people in retail don't like Amazon or Jeff in some cases, but I think this is a very important quote, which is, if you're focused on your competitors, if you're just trying to do what they do, beat them, match what they do, you're going to be left in the dust. You need to be focused on the customer and delivering better experiences to them. That's essentially the point of the quote. So, final takeaways. Commerce is evolving fast. Think beyond the browser. Think about video commerce and some of those other sensor-based examples, for example. Brands and retailers win by taking risks. That's why I had the Jeff Bezos quote. And all commerce is digital, which I think we all intuitively know, but commerce on one channel impacts it on every other channel. And that's it for my presentation. I hope it got you thinking about the future. I'm more than happy to share the presentation or answer any questions if you're interested.